All right, well, it's finally here. You know, we've been through 3 weeks of camp and off season, and it's everything you prepare for is the 12 opportunities you're going to get moving forward. We're excited to open up this week against a really good Mississippi State football team, very well coached. You talk about 4 straight bowl games, Coach Mullen and his staff. It's never been done before at Mississippi State, and I think they do a great job. They've done a great job recruiting and do a great job coaching their players. They've got a number of coaches that I know, and they've got a number of returning starters, especially with their quarterback. Dak Prescott is going to be a handful. He can run, he can throw, and then defensively they're really good up front, and they're physical in the perimeter, so it's going to be a real challenge for us this week. And but our guys are excited. We're excited about, one, playing anybody to get the season started, but more importantly, someone in state that our players and their players know a lot about.
How much do you like the fact that you're playing such a tough opponent to open the season?
Well, I mean, first of all, we're going to find out exactly where we're at. We're going to find out how much we've improved over the course of last year, then the off season. And it's always an indicator of where you're at. And when you get a chance to play a quality opponent in Mississippi State, then you're going to find out exactly where the improvements have come. And it's going to be a hard place to play on the road. Our players know that. But we're going to find out exactly where we're at and how far we've come and where we've got to go, where we've got to get to.
How many games have you coached up, been a part of the staff in Starkville?
One time, I was at LSU. We went up there and played. But, you know, it's changed. I mean, that Mississippi State has changed. I mean, you talk about the last 4 years, you talk about attendance, you talk about bowl games, you talk about facility upgrades, you talk about the excitement of that program. It's unparalleled. And so it's a lot different going there now than it was, say, 10 years ago.
These guys have played in tough environments before, whether it's Nebraska, other places, but is Starkville a different animal as far as going in, whether it's the artificial noisemaker or what it is? What's the challenge going to Starkville and playing in that environment?
Well, what makes an environment tough to play in is if their crowd is into it, if they're making noise, regardless if it's a cowbell or if it's screaming and yelling. And it's your job to try as best you can to take them out of it. It's hard to play anywhere on the road when it's loud. It's hard to communicate. You don't have your crowd behind you to re-energize yourself. So you need mature players that don't need the crowd noise and need that behind them. But it's a tough environment, irrespective of artificial noisemaker. It's you know, bottom line is we got to play well and find a way to do our best to take the crowd out of it.
Their defensive front seven, what concerns you the most about them and what they can do to potentially stop the running game?
Well, first of all, they present lots of problems. They're big, they're physical, they're athletic, and I think they've only gotten better. And then Coach Turner does a great job at the front, and they do a great job on defense. They are not complicated. They don't do a lot of things, but what they do well. If you look at last year, the teams that scored on them scored because of unbelievable individual athletic ability. If you look at A&M and, I mean, Johnny Manziel, they had a hard time corralling him as everybody did. And then against LSU, those wideouts made some unbelievable plays in that game, and that running back, and they're all draft picks. So that's the biggest thing is that they're difficult to handle because they don't do a lot and they do it really, really well and they play hard. So we're going to have our work cut out for us, throwing it and running.
Talk about mismatches and matchups. Where would you like to see us match up Saturday?
Well, first of all, like I always say, matchups, first and foremost, we've got to play better. I say it all the time. Good football still wins. You don't have a chance if you don't even give yourself further into the game to play good football. We've got to play good football. We've got to take care of the football. We've got to try to find a way to get explosive plays. And we've got to find a way to create turnovers and not give up explosive plays. That's really it. I don't know if there's any individual matchup where you say, okay, that's our advantage. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as if we've got to play well. Our younger players have got to play well. And then we've got to be able to piece good plays together offensively to allow ourselves to sustain drives. And then defense, we've got to find a way to eliminate eye violations and force them to go the distance and not have explosive plays.
Marquise Triplett, how was his fall camp and how has he done the last few weeks?
Been fine. Marquise has been fine. He missed all of spring and most of the summer, getting himself back healthy, but he's been fine. We expect him to have a really good year. loves to play football and is one of our team leaders, so we expect him to have a good night Saturday and have a good year.
You were saying you needed to see that, to Jalen Richard get mean and get angry a little bit. Have you started to see that at all leading up to this week of this game?
Oh, my biggest point is, to our players, is the ability to show it one time on film and then see if you can do it twice and 3 times to play with that edge. It's difficult to play this game without a little bit of an edge, right on that edge. And Jalen is a very good football player. And when Jalen plays with that edge, then he's a much better football player. He runs more physical, his pass protection is better. And so Jalen has understood that. I think the last week he's kind of taken that to heart. And like I said, I expect him to play well, and I think our other 2 running backs will play. We'll play all 3 Saturday.
Now that the offseason is over, I mean, probably your biggest emphasis was intensity, physicality, toughness, all that stuff throughout the entire offseason. Are you pleased with how that has gone?
I am. Well, again, it's very difficult to know where you're at until you play somebody else. Do I think that we were a lot more physical football team in the spring and the fall? Yes. Do I think that's part of coaching and part of recruiting? Yes. Will I have a better idea Saturday night in a tough environment against a really good SEC football team? Yes. So I'll have a better idea then, and we'll see Saturday night.
How good do you feel about the offensive line right now?
I feel really good. I feel a lot better. The way we ended last year, than our spring, than our off season, than now. But we're not a finished product by any means. We still have a lot of, Brandon Farmer's going to start at left guard. Hasn't played a lot of meaningful football. It's still Fred Moore's second year at right guard. Our right tackle is going to be new. Cameron Tom's playing center for the first time. The only true returning starter is Rashad at the spot he's played before. So, again, I feel really good about the direction. I feel good about the coaching. I feel good about the players we have there. So we've just got to go and keep improving. And we'll see Saturday night. Again, we'll really be taxed Saturday night to see where we're at.
On the depth chart, it looks like, a lot of the positions kind of solidified. Did it kind of come together as you expected it to throughout fall camp?
Pretty much. I mean, there's only a few surprises. There really is. For the most part, when you end spring, your team is what it's going to be in the fall. You'll have a few true freshmen. You'll have a junior college guy or a player that qualifies late. But other than that, really, your team is set. I mean, what you're going to be coming out of spring and then the summer is what you're going to put forward in the fall. So I don't know if there's many surprises, but I do like the way our team has progressed. I do like where we're headed, and so I look forward to Saturday night.
The linebacker move with Howes and Anderson, how does that look right now?
Fine. We just needed to do something at the will position. Felt like we needed to upgrade there, and Brian coming in gave us a chance to do that. CJ Perry's played a lot of football, so I anticipate CJ will play a lot, Brian will play a lot. And I think Allen's experience, made it easy for him to transfer over to Will. I think that made it real easy.
Where do you think Nick Mullins has progressed the most entering this season?
I think his strength is better. And I think his arm talent has improved. He's able to drive the ball a little bit better. His understanding of where we want to go with the football. So I think, and he's still got a long way to go. He's just a true sophomore, about to make his 6th or 7th start. But he hasn't thrown an interception during training camp, during the scrimmages. I think that's been an emphasis of how we protect the ball better. So it's just a matter of time. If we'll do the right things around him, I think we'll have some success on offense this year, just based on, because I think he's going to be a really good football player.
You mentioned, Nick, not turning the ball over. How important is it going to be to avoid those mistakes on the road?
Well, on the road at home, turnovers, they'll kill you. I mean, it's 30 years ago, the number one predictor of winning and losing was turnovers, and 30 years from now, it's going to be the exact same thing. It's going to be explosive plays and not turning it over, and vice versa, getting turnovers and not giving up explosive plays. Now, it's compounded on the road and versus a really good football team. Your margin for error is really small. So obviously it's important for us to not turn it over, get explosive plays, force them to drive the length of the field like it is with anybody. So that'll be critical to us. And then how we start. How do we start the game?
Talk about Picasso Nelson, the impressions he's made so far and how he got the start tonight.
Well, Picasso's a good young football player, and out of necessity, all those young corners are going to play, whether it's Trey Collins, Cornell Armstrong, Jomez Applewhite, Picasso, they're all going to have to play because outside of Kalen Reed, they're the most talented guys we have. So they're going to take their lumps. But I like all four of them, and Picasso happens to be one of them. Love his fire, love his competitive spirit, but he is still a young football player. And all of them have a ways to go in terms of just progressing as a player. It's hard to speed up their progress without playing. So I'll be excited to see him play and see where we're at.
Talked a lot about breaking the season into quarters last year, and this one you got Mississippi State and Alabama in the first 3 games. What do you talk to your team about when it comes to that?
Well, we tried to bring it up last year in terms of quarters and try to find a way to win each quarter. And we're the same way. It's like, okay, the first 3 games, that's the first quarter of the season. Where do we want to be when we end the first quarter? All I know is we're excited about opening the season this week. And we talked about it earlier in the week about our seniors. And football's unlike any other sport in that you work year-round for guaranteed 12 opportunities. That's it. I don't know, basketball gets about 30, baseball maybe 50 or 60. That's it. Our guys, so really, over the next 14 weeks, we're guaranteed 12 games. And really, for our seniors, that's 28 practices, legit practices. That's it. For a number of them, that's all they've got left playing football, that they've done their whole life. And so the 2013 season is over. There's nothing, we don't even know anything about the 2015 season. We'll determine what the 2014 season is. And we're just excited to get started for all the work that you put in to get to this point in the season.
Will Lindsay be up in the booth? How are y'all going to go about it?
Chip will be upstairs.
How different does this feel going into this year instead of playing, Texas State at home? You're going right away up to Starkville, up in Mississippi State for your first home opener, or your opener at least.
Really, at this moment, it doesn't feel any different. Your preparation's the exact same. How you go about your day-to-day operation to prepare for an opponent hasn't changed. Now, obviously, when we get there, and but it's no different. Our preparation is the same. The way we'll prepare our players will be the same. So then once we get there Saturday, now we just got to play good football, irrespective of the opponent.
Edo Smith, as a true freshman, throwing him out there, how comfortable do you feel as a guy that can really hold on to the ball and meet all the demands y'all have on him?
Well, first of all, been here in the summer for half the summer. Training camp has gone well, has not turned it over. But again, we expect really good things from him. I think he's going to be a really good player. He's never played. We don't know yet. We're going to find out. But I like his makeup. I like his demeanor. And so we're going to find out because he has talent, he has toughness, and he wants to be a great player. So we're going to find out.
Sticking with running backs, what about Tez Parks?
Tez, Tez didn't get qualified till late in the summer, and then he got injured midway through camp. So I don't anticipate, although I think Tez is going to be a really good football player, it's just too hard at this point to get him caught up. It just is. It's tough. If we got into that position where we had some injuries, there's some limited things we could do with it. But at this moment, as good as I think he's going to be, it's just very difficult to get him in the lineup just because of understanding what we do. And we don't have the time anymore. We lost the summer and we lost part of training camp to get him up to speed.
How excited is the defense, especially that front 7, to go up against somebody that has already been talked about as a dark horse Heisman candidate?
Oh, I think, again, I keep saying this, I think we're excited to play anybody. It's the start of the season. It's time to go play someone else and find out what we are going to be for the 2014 season. Now, ultimately, is it heightened because it's Mississippi State? Yes. Is it heightened because you've got a tremendous quarterback that poses a number of threats? You bet it does. But it takes more than just those guys. It takes all 11, and in fact, it takes all 22. You're too deep to be able to play. So, again, I just think we're excited to get the season kicked off. It's everything you work for year-round. As I say, if all we did was practice, you wouldn't find many guys that just go play football. This is what it's about. It's not that much fun. Put on the pads and go out there when it's 100 degrees out there and hit each other. And so that's what we're looking forward to is the game. That's what you work for.